For many of you, a home in the woodlands is the dream home. And here in Tennessee, you certainly have it good. Dense forests, mountain slopes, breathtaking views. But how quickly that dream can go up in flames when wildfire threatens. Each year, hundreds of homes are destroyed or damaged by wildfires all across the U.S. And in the fall of 2001, the people of Sevier County found out how real a risk wildfires are in Tennessee.
We got the call on Wednesday morning. I happened to live on the mountain where the call was coming in at. It didn't take me but about 2 minutes to realize that this whole county was in trouble.
To say it simply, it was frightening, and we were just completely taken by surprise because the fire had been at the bottom of our mountain the night before. And as I smelled smoke and went out to see where it was, I drove my car up just a few yards away from the house, and the woods were all on fire near homes that are near us.
These wildfires, many started by arsonists, were some of the worst to strike Tennessee in recent years. For weeks, the fires blazed. Hundreds of firefighters from federal, state, and local agencies all worked round the clock to get them under control.
The face of the mountain is so steep that the fire just come up with a vengeance. At different times we had several different firestorms that you just could, it was like a flamethrower. You could not put enough water on it to stop it.
The roughest thing for us is the structures. Day by day, more and more homes go up on the sides of ridges, which makes it more difficult for us. We have to control more on the houses than the fire itself.
By the end of fire season 2001, 65 homes in Tennessee had been damaged or destroyed by wildfires, and over 68,000 acres of woodlands were lost. Suppressing these fires cost the state and local firefighting agencies millions of dollars. It was a solemn reminder to all of the high risk that goes with living in a wildfire environment.
The firemen were unable to save some houses up here, one of them the third house from us. But so I'd say within a few yards, in fact a few feet.
You can pretty well see where it came across there up into here. It's got that close.
And almost under my deck. And firemen were very pleased that I had water hoses on each side of the house connected. They were very disturbed because a lot of people did not.
Now around the next ridge, where it's a little steeper, that's the one that burned, and that was a total loss. There's only a chimney there left now. This home was preparation. This one stayed because we had prepared for it. As long as there's no fuel, there's no chance for the fire to continue. Yes, it will jump just from sheer heat or just from debris flying from it, but that's things that if you've got it cleared out enough that you can contain by yourself with a little help of a water hose and so on and so forth. If you live on a mountain and you live on a sheer cliff, it's a good idea to keep it in mind and prepare your home for it. And that's what we've done.
The fact is, a fire season like 2001 will happen again. Because if you live in an area like this one, where homes are intermixed with woodlands, you face that threat every year. You've got to be prepared, because sooner or later, wildfires will threaten your home, and your life and the lives of your family could be at risk. In the next several minutes, you're going to see some safety precautions that you and your neighbors can take to increase the survivability of your homes and your communities. How much you do depends upon how much protection you want, because the most important person in protecting your home from wildfire is not a firefighter, it's you.
People love the natural beauty of East Tennessee and are building homes in what was formerly wild land. Unfortunately, many people don't understand that fire is a part of nature in East Tennessee. And the way they're building and where they're building homes often puts those homes at risk when a forest fire occurs. People need to prepare themselves to survive fires if they live in or adjacent to wild lands here in East Tennessee.
The technical term for it is wildland-urban interface, the area where homes meet the woods. Homes in these woodland settings are often surrounded by flammable forest fuels. Your job is to minimize that fire threat. I say it's your job because you can't assume a fire engine will be there if you need it. If there's a wildfire in your community, fire protection resources will likely be overwhelmed. That means large numbers of homes with no firefighter protection, including yours. It's essential that you design, build, and maintain your home to withstand a fire without the intervention of the local fire department or fire agency. It's all part of a national program called being Firewise.
Living in a Firewise manner simply means being aware that forest fires can and do occur in East Tennessee, and that you need to do your part to protect your property. The very basic things that we ask landowners to do to protect their own home are to have defensible space, to modify their vegetation in the yard, to have an adequate water supply, and then have an evacuation plan so they can get out and know where to meet up with family members. Very simple things, easy and economical to do to help your home survive and to give fire service the opportunity to save your home should a fire occur in your neighborhood.
The couple who owns this woodland home have put a lot of those Firewise activities into practice. So how long have you been here?
Well, we moved up here a couple of years ago, and you know, we love the idea of the privacy and all the woods around us, but you know, with all of last year's fires, we soon realized that with all the vegetation so close to the house, it really posed a fire hazard for us.
So what we did first was to look at our property and to look at our house and kind of assess the situation. What were the fire hazards? What areas were most vulnerable to fire? And what we needed to do to make our house and property safer. And we had help.
We worked with our local fire department and our local forestry division.
And, well, they basically recommended 3 areas to focus on: the perimeter of our property, the area next to the house, and the house itself.
Especially the roof.
And boy, we put a lot of time and work into this.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
So what we've done is create what they call defensible space.
We like to think of it as lean, clean, and green. Kind of a fire-resistant barrier between us and the woods.
It's just an area where you've sown grass, which is less likely to burn, and you've pruned and cleared away some of the shrubs and trees, especially any dead ones. And you've replaced some of the existing vegetation with less flammable plants.
Firewise plants, in other words.
Exactly. What you don't want are trees too close to the house. They pose a real fire hazard because they create something firefighters call ladder fuels. They can actually ignite tree branches and spread the fire from tree to tree.
Then you've really got problems.
So what you want to do is provide a separation between the vegetation layers, like you see here.
You know, and with all this open space we've created, it not only serves as a barrier, but it gives firefighters a place to work in just in case the fire does break through.
So you're removing, reducing, and replacing.
The 3 R's of defensible space: removal, reduction, and replacement. You know, of course, the size of your defensible space really depends on the slope of your property and also the kind of vegetation you have. And a good area is at least 30 feet minimum from the house.
Well, let's take a look at the house. So location is obviously important.
Oh, right. I mean, you want to place your house back from the edge of the downhill slope, at least 30 feet, and more is better.
You don't want to put your house right on the edge of a ridge.
Now, you want to put the house back from the slope because when the flames, the heat, the firebrands, or whatever, they'll tend to loft up over the house rather than directly impacting it.
It's also going to reduce the amount of radiant heat the house is exposed to. And that's another thing, Bill. You want to make sure your driveway is named or that you have it marked with your house number or address. You'd be surprised how many aren't.
You can hardly expect a fire truck to find you if your road's not marked.
I can see where you've done some clearing out, too.
Yeah, you don't want lots of brush or vegetation too close to the edge of the road. That can be flammable.
Makes the road unsafe.
Well, not only for firefighters to travel on, but it's your escape route, so you want to make sure it's not a fire hazard itself.
Well, let's head back up to the house. We'll show you what we've done. As you can see, we don't have a lot growing up against the house.
It's what they call firescaping or having a fire-smart landscape. The idea is to surround the house with things that are less likely to burn.
There are all types of defensible space that can be built in. You want to sow grass, put in a brick patio, build a water feature, have a rock garden. They're attractive and they serve as fuel breaks. And you just basically want to do what you can within your landscape design budget.
Seems like there's a lot of simple things you can do that can make a big difference.
There are. Now here's something we have to take care of. This is just wildfire fuel waiting to happen. I mean, a spark from a fire could land in the wood pile and spread to the house in no time. So from now on, we're going to keep our firewood away from the house.
And cleaning dead leaves out of the gutters and eaves. People don't realize that a firebrand from a house that's burning somewhere down the road can go flying and end up on your roof. In fact, that's how the majority of homes are destroyed in wildfires, by airborne firebrands.
In really severe conditions, you're talking these things traveling more than a mile.
And a falling ember or an ember that's windblown can easily kindle any leaves you have on the roof.
Or in your rain gutters, or under the deck.
I guess if a wildfire is approaching, you can always have a lawn sprinkler ready to keep your roof wet.
That's a good idea, Bill, because your roof is the most vulnerable part of the house. If you've got untreated wood shingles up there or wood siding, you really want to consider replacing them with fire-safe materials like Class A asphalt shingles or a metal roof.
Oh, and another thing you can do is make sure you close in those eaves and make sure your attic vents are also closed or screened. Those are two places that embers can get and start a fire.
While we're talking about closing things up, if you have a deck or patio attached to the house, you want to make sure the undersides are enclosed. I mean, you get a lot of dry leaves, dry grass into there. One spark could set the whole house on fire.
I'm seeing big uses for that lawn sprinkler.
No kidding. Which brings me around to an emergency water supply on hand. I mean, you can have it on your property.
Or what we did is get with our neighbors, and we now have a community storage tank. But a lake, a pond, well, even a swimming pool can work as an emergency water supply.
That's right. Either way, you want to let your local fire department know about it.
That's a good idea then, working with your neighbors.
Well, like I said before, if your neighbor's house is on fire, it poses a threat to yours. So the more prepared they are, the better off you are. Being Firewise is a community effort.
So you've created a defensible space and you've protected your home as well by keeping the gutters and eaves clean, storing your firewood elsewhere, and making sure you have an emergency water supply. And of course, you've put in some fuel breaks like a rock wall and a water feature.
I know, it seems like a lot to remember, but keep in mind the two most important things. Always have at least 30 feet between your house and the wildland fuels.
Your defensible space, in other words.
And have a roof that will not burn.
So do you consider yourselves protected well enough?
Well, yes and no, Bill. I mean, nothing's fireproof.
You live up here, you know the risks. You don't want to think that it could happen, but an approaching fire could break through.
So then what happens?
It's a good idea to have an evacuation plan.
And be prepared to evacuate if the local authorities order it.
Well, right. And all family members should know what the plan is. You should let friends and relatives know about it, too. This is our checklist.
That lawn sprinkler you talked about, Bill?
Yeah.
That's got to be ready to go. Then you want to bring your patio furniture inside, turn off your propane gas, put your valuables in the car, things like that.
And most important, you want to have an agreed-upon meeting place. If someone decides to stay with the house and then later has to leave, everyone should know where to meet, so no one worries.
So it's like we said earlier, a lot of small things can make a big difference.
Oh, yeah. I know. You know, a lot of people think, oh, this could never happen to me, or they think the time and money you have to put into it outweighs the benefits, so they don't do anything. But you know, there's a lot of research out there that shows that homes with a good defensible space are much more likely to survive a wildfire. No, I mean, you don't ever want to think it's going to happen to you.
But it does. Every year, homes in this area are lost to wildfires.
And how well you're protected depends on how much you've done before the wildfire approaches.
It's up to you.
For homeowners like Gayle and John, wildfire protection is an ongoing effort. Whether you live in your house year-round or rent it out seasonally, you have to see that the defensible space you created is maintained. Grass watered and mowed, dead trees removed, and new growth reduced, removed, or replaced to ensure that the area surrounding your home remains lean, clean, and green to provide an adequate barrier against wildfire. As you've seen, wood piles should be stored away from the house, and gutters and eaves should be regularly cleaned. You've learned that roofs are the most vulnerable to airborne firebrands, so if possible, you should replace any flammable roofing material with material that is fire resistant. You've seen how you can landscape in a way that offers the best fire protection and enhances the beauty of the property. Things like rock mulch beds, water features, and brick patios are effective fuel breaks. You've learned of the importance of keeping an emergency water supply and of having an evacuation plan. And finally, you understand the added value of a community approach to wildfire protection. While nothing can prevent a wildfire from occurring, what you and your neighbors do prior to each fire season can help prevent dreams from going up in smoke.
The fire season of 2001, we had one fire in Sevier County that burned about 1,200 acres. It burned down 4 homes that we could not protect, but it threatened 180 other homes and 80 mobile homes. There's simply not enough fire trucks in East Tennessee to come into a fire of this size and set a truck at each home. So homeowners must prepare their property to survive the fire in the event that fire service can't get to their home when the fire arrives.
If you're worried about the wildfire threat to your home, but aren't sure how to get started in making your home defensible, there are a lot of resources out there that can help. I encourage you to take advantage of these resources and get pre-fire efforts started in your community before the next fire season begins. There's no way to fireproof the forest, but we can make it safer to live in. I'm Bill Landry.